So we're going to write a melody in the form AABA. It's a 4-bar melody, so each of those letters will be 1 bar long. So the 3 A bars are related but slightly different. You have A1, then A2, then we'll write a B bar, but that will still be based on A1, and then we'll have the A3 bar, and at the end we can write out the whole melody. Now I'm going to be doing this on the computer. For your first melody you should be doing this in your workbook by hand, but that means that instead of listening to it on Sibelius you can actually go and play your melody on an instrument. So think about making it easy for you to do, for you to play yourself. So you follow these in strict order. These items. 1. Write your A bar. You should use a C as your first note, and the bar should be 4 beats long. So let's put the first note in as a C. I'm using a crotchet. You don't have to. Now at this point you should go to an instrument or sing to yourself a melody so that you can come up with something musically and not just sitting and clicking at a computer. But in fact I've already come up with a melody earlier, and it looks like that, and I will just play it to you now, or my imaginary trumpeter inside the computer will. There we go, good trumpet player. 2. Put a bracket over any 3 notes in the A bar, but not the first one. Later, this will become the basis of your B section. So what we're looking for here is the 3 most interesting notes, or the 3 most interesting items of rhythm. So I'm going to go for these 3 notes here because they are clearly the most interesting rhythm. Dum ba dum. If I chose these 3 notes, dum ba da, here, dum ba da, much more interesting. So I'm just going to digitally put a bracket underneath them, like that. And that will remind us later which ones we picked. Now, we need to alter the A bar in some way, because we can't just repeat it. Dum bum ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum bum. That wouldn't be an interesting melody. So we can either write it upside down, or we can do it higher or lower, or we can do it backwards. I'll show you an example of each of those. So I just need to write the melody in here again. So that's how we started. First of all, let's do it upside down. So if I put this one up an octave, in A1 we went up 1 note, so at this point we'll go down 1 note. Then it went up 3 notes, so we'll come down 2. Then it went down 1 note, so we'll go up 1. Then it went up 3 notes, so we'll go down 3 notes, and then it goes down 1 note, so we'll go up 1 note. So the 2 together sound like this. So it's recognisably the same bit of melody, isn't it? It's upside down. The other thing we could have done, if I just undo all of those changes, is we could have just put it all up 1 note. So I'll do that now. There we go. I could have put it down 1 note. I could have put it up 4 notes. And you had to go to a keyboard and listen and try and work out which one sounds best. I'll pick one almost at random to put in now. Have a listen to them both together. Works nicely. Another example would be this one. We're going to take it back to the original now. And then we have to look at writing it backwards. So the simplest way to do this is simply to look at the first note. That's a crotchet C. I'll put a crotchet C in the last position in the bar. Before that, it was a D, and that's a dotted quaver. Now, if you just put the dotted quaver in where it asks you to, you're left with this semi-quaver rest, which you don't know what to do with. So actually, we have to put in the F first. Put in the F semi-quaver, something which is easier by hand, actually. And then quaver E, quaver A, then quaver E, and then starting with a G. Let's listen to those two together. Now the thing about those two, and this is a problem with writing the whole rhythm backwards as well, is that actually it often doesn't sound like the same melody. It sounds like something completely different. And this is a little bit like that because we put a bracket over these three notes here, in the first bar, because we thought those were the most interesting from a rhythmic point of view. If we take those out of the A2 bar, we're taking out the most interesting bit that we've already written. So another thing you can do is actually to keep the rhythm the same. So I'll just put the original melody in again. You keep the rhythm the same, but you actually put the pitches in the opposite order. So the pitches are in the order C, D, F, E, A, G. So I'll go C, D, F, E, A, G. So the pitches are upside down, are backwards, not upside down, but the rhythm is the same. Have a listen to that. And that makes a lot more sense than changing the rhythms as well. So that's what we'll go with for the time being. Stage 4. Use the pitches and rhythms of the bracketed notes above to write your B bar. Remember, the bar should be 4 beats long. I think we know that by now. So we take these three notes here that we decided are very interesting. I'm just going to put them in here. Sibelius won't let me do that without getting rid of the the text, so I will put it in myself. So that's it. Those are the three notes we picked, and we can now do all of the things that we could do in 3 to those 3 notes, but within 1 bar instead of for a whole bar. So we could, if we wanted to, just repeat it like that. That wouldn't be hugely interesting. Let's just listen to how that would sound. And it probably wouldn't go in the context of the whole melody. However, perhaps if we put it up 1, or maybe start it all higher, that's starting to get more interesting. Another option, because we don't have to start these 3 notes after a rest, we could syncopate it a little bit. We have to fill that last beat somehow. But let's listen to that. Now, for me, that's a little bit out of character with the other 2 bars if you listen to it. Doesn't quite work for me. So I'm going to go back to an earlier version. That shows what happens when you click in Sibelius without pressing escape. I'm going to go back to an earlier version, and I'm just going to put in 1 extra note here, and one extra note here. Let's listen to our 3 bars again. And then we have to finish with a version of the A bar which ends with a minim C. So there's our minim C. Then we write out the first 2 beats of A1, which is dum bum bup in our case. So we'll do that. Now that is going to be a little bit quick at getting to that C. So actually I'm just going to change the order of those 2 notes. Instead of going C, D, F, I'm going to get to go C, F, D. And these 2 notes are a bit closer to each other. So we can listen to our whole melody all the way through now. Now, it's a simple melody, but it really works. So what we have to do now is take these bars and input them in the right order. So we put A1, you're going to do this by hand of course, but I'm going to copy and paste. So A1 goes first, we don't need the bracket anymore, then A2 goes next, I'll get rid of the text as we go, and B goes next. So the B really provides contrast in the middle of the whole melody. So you have something that you start off with in A1, then something that is slightly different but related in A2, then something different but slightly related, and then something slightly different again to finish with. So this is our melody. Now, during the 3rd bar here, you'll probably notice that that is the point at which it gets more interesting. It's the climax of the piece. The climax of the piece tends to be 2/3 of the way through it. So I'm just going to put in a couple of accents and maybe a crescendo. We'll start at piano. We'll have a little bit of a crescendo to this higher note, and then diminuendo away from it again. And then we can end perhaps forte, but with a little diminuendo at the end. That's always very classy. A good way of doing this when you're actually writing your own melody is to play it and see how you play it. Perhaps record it on your phone and actually listen to where you're naturally, as a musician, putting the diminuendos in, where you're putting phrase marks in and that sort of thing. Have a listen. So Sibelius's dynamics are not perhaps as good as a real person, but they do get across the basic idea. We've now got a fabulous 4-bar melody, which could be the basis of a longer composition. For grade 2, you don't now have to harmonise that. That is the basis of your composition. You can carry on with that and complete it, and it's just for trumpet. When you get to grade 4 or to GCSE or grade 6 or A-level, you do have to harmonise things. So at this point, you'd have to work out what the chords are. You can do that now, of course, if you'd like to, but for grade 2, you don't have to. Do go backwards through this video and have a listen again to anything you feel you didn't understand, and then complete the exercise in your workbook.